Hey, good morning. Today I want to talk to you all about the price of posterity. And let's see here. Make sure this thing is working on Instagram again. Computers or something else. I'll tell you. All right, good morning, everybody. Talk to you for a few minutes before I get out of here and get to church. So, good morning. I want to talk to you about most of you all don't really know what posterity means. So, good morning, good morning, good morning. I want to talk to you all today about the price of posterity. And I want y'all to understand what this word means and why posterity is what we all should really be aiming for. Okay, so let me get straight into it. I've only got a few minutes before I go to church today. All right, so um, the first time you see the word posterity in the Bible, it's in the book of Genesis, in it's chapter 45. And it's Joseph explaining to his brothers what posterity is and why he got in the trouble that he got in and why God put him in all that trouble. It was for the whole family's sake. And so his brothers are afraid of him because his brothers got him locked up. His brothers sold him for 30 pieces of silver. Joseph told his brothers about a dream he had, and they sold him for 30 pieces of silver. And they said, man, this guy's crazy. Talking about we're going to bow down to him. We ain't going to never bow down to him. That ain't going to never happen. So they was mad at Joseph. So they locked him up. So he ended up in Egypt, but he ended up in Egypt. And after he went through a lot of hell, he ended up making a company go Fortune 500. Then he ended up getting locked up. And then he turned Pharaoh's business into a multi-trillion dollar business. So he's rolling now, but his brothers don't know that he is the one that's the prince of Egypt. So when they come to town and they come to get some food, they don't realize that Joseph is the man, the same they brother, they little brother that they sold off when he was a young dude. He's 30 years old now. And now he's, next to Pharaoh. He's a baller, he's a shot caller, he got plenty of money. I mean, he's running a whole nation, but they didn't realize who he was. So he brought him into the house and he said, let's come on. He told his Egyptian boys to say, bring my brothers into the crib. And he said, let them come in. I'm just gonna talk directly with them. So his brothers came in, and now he's having his conversations with his brothers. And watch what he says about this word, posterity. I want y'all to understand what this word means. I want y'all to understand why it's what we teach and why it's really what life is really all about. It's really about what you're leaving for somebody else. But watch what he says to his brothers. Now his brothers nervous, they scared, they shaking, they thinking something about to happen to him. But watch what he says. This is in Genesis chapter 45, verse number 5. He said, look at his brothers. He said, now therefore be not grieved. He said, nor angry with yourselves that you sold me hither. For God did send me before you to preserve life. He said, for these 2 years hath the famine been in the land, and yet there are 5 years in the which there shall be neither earing nor harvest. And God sent me before you to preserve you a posterity in the earth and to save your lives by a great deliverance. So that's the first time you see the word posterity in the Bible. And he says, so what's so important about that? Joseph is like, look, I went through all of this hell because God knew that it was going to be a famine in the land. And if I hadn't been here, we'd all be dead now. Are you listening to me? So some of y'all wondering right now, why am I going through all this hell? I'm trying to help my family. And my own family ain't even acting right. They ain't even got good sense. They ain't even paying no attention to me. They don't recognize what's going on. You might be asking yourself this, but I want you to know that you're not the first person, so that you can stay the course and keep pre-serving. That's what preserve means. It means to pre-serve somebody. So in order for you to have a posterity, you have to serve first. That's what preserve means. It means to pre-serve somebody. So when you serve in advance, then you're the one that reaps on the back end from all of your pre-service. Did you get what I said? Preserve, that's what preserve means. So Joseph, the reason that he ended up being a very wealthy, rich guy is because he pre-served. When he first got to Egypt, he served this guy named Potiphar. And a man's house blew up. But Potiphar's wife wasn't right. So she falsely accused Joseph and they ended up locking the brother up. So he went to jail and he pre-served the people in jail. He had two cats that came in jail. He told them both their dreams. And one of them went back and told Pharaoh about him a couple of years later. Then Pharaoh told him about a dream he was having. And he pre-served Pharaoh. In other words, everything he did, he put the service first. That's why Jesus said, let's let him that's greatest amongst you, let him be your servant. So people want to be served, but people don't want to pre-serve. So people are not pre-served because they don't pre-serve. Did you get what I said? See, as long as you're the first person, so what does that mean? That means you be the one that instigates the service, and that's how you create posterity. That's what happened to me in my life. All right, when I was home had $50, I just made sure that I served everybody I got in contact with. And I served them ahead of time before the money came, because the money comes later after the service. And that's what people want to pass up. They like, the Bible says, give and it shall be given unto you. Pressed down, shaken together, and running over in good measure, all together shall men give into your bosom. But only people only give to you because you gave first. You served first. And you wasn't serving to get nothing. You was just serving. Why? Because of the privilege of posterity. Posterity is a privilege. It's not a chore. Are you hearing me? It's our privilege. And that means that we got to go through some hell to be able to see posterity, because you're going to have to serve. And quite often, the people that you serve are the ones that give you the most grief. Did you hear what I said? Quite often, when you serve people, I remember when I first started doing my stage plays and I was helping some people out, and they started accusing me of trying to take the money or going on the radio show to tell people about them. And I'm like, why in the world? I don't want your money. I said, how dare you insult me like that? Make me want to grow my perm back. You dig what I'm saying? So I stopped serving them and I just started serving other people. Whatever you do, don't stop serving. Whatever you do, don't stop serving. And not only that, be a pre-server. Serve people before you want to be served. And then you'll be what? You'll reap the benefits of posterity. All right. I don't want to be late for church. So that's Joseph's story. So Joseph said, listen, y'all, he said, God put me here to preserve the family. And let me just read it to you one more time, because you probably never seen this word posterity. And it's not taught. It's not taught to people because people talk about prosperity, but that's because people selfish and they don't understand what life is really all about. Life is really all about laying out there, getting ahead of the game, and making sure everybody else around you is better off. And then you automatically going to be better off. Are you hearing what I'm saying? That's what life is all about. He says, he said, for these 2 years, let me just get, he said, and God sent me before you to preserve you a posterity in the earth, to save your lives from a great deliverance. So you might be wondering why you're going through what you're going through right now. But I stopped by this morning to let you know is because you are a great servant. That's why you're going through what you're going through. And I stopped by here this morning to let you know, keep serving and don't slow down, and don't let nothing that's going on with you initially slow up your progress, because the only thing that's going to stop your posterity is when you stop serving. Nothing can stop you from reaching your posterity. Nobody, nothing, no demons, no devils, no principalities, no powers. Nothing can stop you from being the person you was destined, that you were predestined to be, if you preserve. Because people who preserve are predestinated. Did you hear what I said? It doesn't matter what's going on with other people. It doesn't matter about your opposition. It doesn't even matter about the people that you treat real good who ain't even responding to it. Because why? You are definitely going to be a posterity receiver if you're a pre-server. It doesn't matter about whether the people that you're dealing with right now are responding to what you're doing. It doesn't matter. Why? Because it's just the law of God. What? You reap what you sow. What goes up, it comes down. Are you hearing what I'm saying? What you put out, it comes back. So don't stop putting out just because you're not getting it back from the source you're putting it out to. Now you hear what I'm saying? So that's the story of Joseph. Then the second story I want to talk to you about is the story of Rahab. Rahab is a woman who's a prostitute, and she lives in this land called Jericho. And the children of Israel are about to come into Jericho and wreak havoc. In fact, they're about to come into Jericho and kill everybody. Are you hearing me? So they said, listen, let's send some spies out to the land to see what's going on. So they said, who house are we going to go to so that we can find out what's going on in the land? Now, the people in Jericho are scared. I mean, they hemmed up. They terrified about the children of Israel, because the children of Israel, they heard about them in the wilderness and how they beating the crap out of everybody, and how they got this great God, and about how the Egyptians died in the Red Sea. And they nervous, and they got a good reason to be nervous, because they're about to all die. All right. It ain't nothing wrong with you being nervous when you're facing death. All right. You ought to be nervous. Are you digging what I'm saying? So just don't play around with God and get on God's side, because you can either get with God or you can get run over by God, because that's how God get down. So they're afraid of God for good reason. Why? Because God is about to come in there and wreak havoc. But listen, watch how God picked the person that he wanted to save out of all the people. I mean, he come into the land, they're going to kill everybody. All right. But they're going to preserve a certain woman's family. And why is that? Because they picked the person who was different from everybody else. They picked a prostitute. Why did they pick a prostitute? Because they knew. They said, we're going to go in here and talk to this prostitute, and she ain't going to turn us in. The reason she ain't going to turn us in is because she's not part of the status quo. She's not part of the tight butt cheek, pharisaical, self-righteous, sweet Kool-Aid drinking Jericho just released Project Relocated Mogs that be running countries and running cities and running things, and churchy folks and religious folk. And all. She ain't part of that. All right. She's just a straight up chick, and she ain't gonna turn us in. She good to go. We can trust her. We can't trust them. Don't you dare go to the mayor's house. That mark will turn you in. Don't you dare go to the top dogs in town because they'll turn you in. Why? Because they got status, and they think they got status, and they think they're important. And when people think they're important, they'll turn you in. Are you hear what I'm saying? When you deal with people who know that God is important and that all of us just better get in line, then you can trust that type of person. You can't trust these mugs who think they're important. That's why when I meet people all over the world, and especially these churchy folks and stuff like that, preachers and stuff like that. I'm like, man, you ain't important. You impotent. Okay. You think you some type of celebrity or something. You ain't no celebrity. We servants, man. Did you hear what I said? And just because you got a little status and all that sort of a thing, you want to play it safe and all that. Ain't no such thing as playing it safe in the kingdom of God. Are you hear me? We risk takers. All right. Why? Because we create posterity. And in order for you to create posterity, you got to be a risk taker. All right. You can't be like the crowd to create posterity. Are you hear what I'm saying? The crowd ain't going nowhere. The crowd is the status quo. And if you're gonna be like the crowd, you ain't gonna be able to put cheese on a waffle, let alone have something left over for your kids and your grandkids and your unborn kids. So that's what I love about Rahab. They already knew this about her. So they came to her crib and they said, listen, we're gonna hide out at your joint. She was like, wow, it's amazing that y'all picked me. They said, yeah, because we know you cool for the game, you ain't gonna trick on us. So we're gonna come to your crib and we're gonna lamp at your house. All right. So Rahab is like, all right, come on in. So the people in the city, they know that the spies is at Rahab's crib. So cause why? Because they heard it through the grapevine. What? Oh, guess you're wondering how I knew about those spies you're hiding, boo. Said I heard it through the grapevine. Yeah, they heard it through the grapevine that the spies is over Rahab's crib, but Rahab ain't about to trick. Why? Because she's a ride or die. So she ain't about to trick. She ain't about to tell on them. Why? Because she ain't like the crowd. The crowd will trick on you. You get around these little punks, the crowd, and don't you get no tight space where they'll run like some little sissies. But not Rahab. Rahab is stomped down like four flat tires, handling her business. These men can trust her. You see, that's the kind of people I like to hang out around. What about you? I said, what about you? What about you want to hang out around people that's worried about their reputation? Or you want to hang around people that's concerned about you, who you can trust, who ain't going to split you up, set you up. You dig what I'm saying? So I love Rahab. She's a great person. Y'all should read about her. It's in the book of Joshua. You hear what I'm saying? If I was you, I would learn about this woman's story. Okay. The city don't like her. The status quo don't like her, but God love her. Are you hearing me? The city might not like you. Well, status quo might not like you, but I stop by here to tell you that God loves you. He loves the ground you walk on, and don't you worry about nobody else. As long as God loves you, you in the majority. Are you hearing what I'm saying? So Rahab, she hides these guys, and the people come over and say, "Hey, man, we heard them spies is over here." Rahab say, "I don't know what you're talking about." She say, "I think they went that way." All right, so she sent them off, right? So they start running down the street. Yeah, I think they went that way, but she had put the spies and hid them. So when the spies came out, they said, "Hey, Rahab," they said, "Listen, as long as you don't tell nobody about our stuff, go get your whole family and tell everybody to come back to your crib. We're gonna put a scarlet thing down your window, scarlet thread down your window. And that way, when we come back to town, because we're gonna come kill everybody, we're about to wreck the whole joint. So when we come back, we're not gonna mess with you. We ain't gonna mess with your family. Your whole family is gonna be all right. Okay. So that's the second part about posterity. Number one, you got to preserve somebody, and then number two, you got to protect somebody. All right. So when you have the spirit of preserving and protecting, then God will bless you with posterity. That means that you got plenty of everything. Did you hear what I said? You ain't lacking nothing. You got plenty of everything, plenty love, plenty joy, plenty peace, plenty mercy, plenty money, plenty of everything. Why? Because God is the God of plenty. Are you hear what I'm saying? He's good and plenty. He's good and plenty. And that's what he stopped by this morning to tell you. He stopped by to tell you today you keep serving. He stopped by to tell you today you keep protecting. And then finally, the last thing about posterity is that it's very productive. You see, Joseph was very productive, and the young lady was very productive because they put together some service that produced utility for everybody that was around. Are you hearing what I'm saying? This is what posterity is about. Every day you wake up for the rest of your life. Every day I wake up for the rest of my life. Hear me good. Wake up with the whole idea of how can I be more productive? What is it that I don't know today that I can possibly learn today that's going to make me more productive? Why? Because I got a family to protect and I got a family to preserve. Are you hearing me? Not me, the generations that's coming behind me. I have to preserve somebody. I got to protect somebody so I can what? Produce somebody that's worth producing. Because once you are preserving And once you are protecting, then you are very productive. And that means that everybody comes behind you, they take your attitude and your spirit, and then you start a dynasty of people who behave the same way. So what do? We preserve. What do? We protect. And what do? We produce. Can I give it to you one more time? We preserve, we protect, and we produce. All right, I got to run. It's been a plum, pleasing pleasure today. You guys have a great, fantastic week. Just wanted to start you out Sunday so you can have some energy for the day. Take this into your work week this week, and remember to be to to make your sights on posterity, not prosperity. All right, preserve, and God is going to serve you back. Um, Protect, and then God is going to protect everything you got. And then finally, be productive and watch how your life just takes off to a whole new level. It's been a plum pleasing pleasure as well as a privilege. I love you all. Ain't nothing y'all can do about that. Have an awesome day. I hope you're on your way to church like I am. Be blessed in the city and be blessed in the field. And remember that stellar is as stellar does. Have an outstanding day. All right. Take care. Have a great day. Appreciate you.